So, there's been this thing that's been following me around for days that has been absolutely driving me out of my mind. Something that I've wanted to share with you, something I want to tell you about, but there's like this one little detail that's remaining that I have to find out about that's keeping me from being able to share it with you now. Just like one final little detail that will make the whole thing perfect, will make sense, will make it worth sharing. Otherwise, I'm just being stupid, you know what I mean? Like I've actually shot 5 videos on this subject in the last 2 weeks, and every time I get ready to upload it, I'm like, why are you uploading it? Like, what's the point? You gotta wait, you gotta show patience. You have to practice patience. And I am not good at that. It's something that I've never been good at. I have tons of anxiety. And so, on the other hand, I haven't really uploaded anything in about a week now, because I made this really long video and I decided to do an experiment and cut it into 3 parts. And, people watch the first one, but then less people watch the second one, and even less watch the third part. And it just showed me, like, unless people are making money or unless there's some incredible value to the video, don't cut it up like that. Just put it out and let it be what it is, even if you think it might be a little bit too long. And you know what? I'm a long story person. My plays are 2.5 hours long. My films are generally 2 hours long. So that's just the way it is, I believe in exposition. I believe in developing characters. I believe in the whole story, I don't really care about the time. As long as every word in the script is necessary, as long as I can justify every single thing that's being said and seen, that's what it is. I'm not cutting it just simply to cut it. I've never been that way. I don't abide by those kind of rules. I think they're stupid. They have nothing to do with art. That just has to do with corporate, like what is good for a festival or a regional theater or Broadway or whatever. I don't subscribe to that. So, why am I here? I'm here because I thought where I'm at right now, this frustration is a good metaphor for this subject that I think about a lot, which is, if you do this one thing, if you approach your work in this one particular way, you will win every single time. I guarantee it. Like, you will have a win no matter what. But you have to approach your work in this way. And this is like my humble opinion. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying this is right for you. It's just my opinion. And it's my opinion that this would work for anybody, for everybody. That's how I feel about it, because it works for me. And it works for everybody that I know who approaches their craft in this way. And what that is that you should never endeavor upon anything that you don't feel absolutely compelled, that you need to deal with this subject, that you are inspired, that you are moved by it, that you could not live another moment without diving into this and going through the weeds and digging through the dirt and climbing every mountain and swimming across every river, and just to get to this subject, like to get in there and investigate it and work it out and workshop it and do everything that you can to get to the point where you finish it, come to a conclusion, solve the problem, and then share it. Share it with anybody who will listen, anybody who will watch, anybody who will come see it, anybody who's open to you and your offering. I guarantee you will win every single time. Because when you do something that's really important to you, that you feel is necessary, that you feel is actually a contribution, that you believe that. Not everybody's going to agree with you, and not everybody's going to feel that way, but if you believe that you're contributing, and if you put that kind of commitment and that kind of dedication and that kind of sacrifice into something, where you develop something and you get everything out of it and you do the absolute best that you can, you will get a win every single time. Because it doesn't really matter what comes back to you. Because I feel like, like I made myself a promise a long time ago. I would never get on stage unless I felt like I would die if I didn't share the story. Like literally, that's how I feel. Like I feel like there is nothing that could stand in my way of getting to the point where I can get on that stage and share this story with people. Because I feel it's that meaningful, that important, that contributing. I believe that. It's all about your intention. You can't control what other people think or what other people feel. Some people are going to love it, some people are going to hate it. Hopefully there's nobody who's going to feel neutral about it. I think when you put in that kind of work, you're either going to get an incredibly positive response or an incredibly negative response. But there's not going to be anything in the middle because it's going to be provocative because you've put everything into it. And we all have so much to offer. Everybody. Everybody has life experience. Everybody's been through stuff. And so everybody has this opportunity to, reach out and touch people and bring people together and inspire dialogue and make people think and make people see things in a different way. Like, oh, wow, I never even thought of it that way, and then they might leave your performance or leave seeing your film or leave your art gallery or your whatever, your dance project and go say, yo, I just saw this incredible thing and I can't stop thinking about it. We need to talk about it. And then that person will talk about it with somebody else. And then suddenly you're like kind of spreading this new awareness, this heightened level of paying attention to one another, like a higher level of humanity, more empathy. Because people are considering things that they hadn't considered before. Because why? Because you took something that was probably somewhat difficult for most people to take in a usual sense, like, talk about racism or misogyny or gentrification or whatever the case may be, the war in Gaza or the politics of the day or, modern medicine and healthcare, whatever, choose anything, all the fucked up shit in the world right now. And try to take that and create, say, beautiful characters in a story, in an environment, and immerse people in this world where you create this beautiful, just life situation. A day in the life of, a week in the life of, a couple of years, whatever. But you really develop these characters so that people see themselves in all of the characters, right? Because we're all human. We all have so much in common. And then you put it in a scenario where people are like, whoa, wow, I could relate to that. You have a problem and then you go on this, this yellow brick road journey of, trying to climb every mountain and cross every river to get to a better place, to get to some kind of a conclusion, whether it be good or bad, you just want to get somewhere. You might want to get somewhere where it's all good. You fixed everything and everything's beautiful. Or you might want to get somewhere where you're like, oh shit, that's real. That's real. And then maybe it's about resilience. Like, you know what, despite that, people are going to continue. What I'm saying is that if you find something that means that much to you, it's a win because your existence, your very life is a win. Just the fact that you are here doing something, contributing to others, trying to create something that ain't all about you is a win. And by the way, just to take it down to a different level, let's speak to the filmmakers who probably are watching this, because a lot of filmmakers come to my page or my channel or whatever you call it on YouTube. I mean, sometimes I know a lot of people find themselves watching a million, camera videos, camera reviews, lens reviews, lights, audio equipment, gimbals, whatever. I did it when I was looking for my first camera. I watched every video on cameras known to humankind, like everything. I know all the big YouTubers, and I watched everything and I learned a lot. I wound up buying a Sony A6400. And that was my first camera, but I noticed that once I got it and I had this tool that was allowing me to tell these stories that I wanted to tell, I stopped watching those videos because I could care less, Then I wound up upgrading to the Panasonic S5, which is what I'm shooting on right now. And I am in love with this camera. And why? Not because I love Panasonic or Lumix or whatever, which I kind of do, but it's not because of that. It's because this thing I can do anything that I've thought of in my head. The camera is not going to be the reason that I don't accomplish it. Like, that's going to be my own ingenuity, my own skills, my own, approach. How dedicated am I? How committed am I to getting the most out of this tool that I have and the most out of myself? Because that's really what it's all about. This camera gets me a great image. Like most cameras, you could buy pretty much any camera on the market right now. It's going to get you a great image. It's really a matter of finding something that you can afford, basically. Because every camera is pretty much going to have everything, I mean, think about the important things to you. If it's stabilization and color science or whatever, then get a Panasonic. If it's autofocus, get a Sony, Get a Canon or whatever. Like, figure it out. But they're all basically the same price, and they're all basically the same. I happen to love this camera. But I love it because it's mine. And because I'm grateful enough to own it. I'm lucky enough to own it. I also have a GH5 as a backup, which I found for $475. And by the way, I have the S5. Not the S5 II, not the S5iix that everybody wants. I have the original S5, and people are like, oh, how could you use that? It's like, what? This thing is incredible. Have you looked at the images that I get out of it? And by the way, the lenses that I use, I use vintage lenses. I have 5 of them. You could buy them for $350 combined. I also have 2 anamorphic lenses, which you could get for like $750 combined. Sirui, anamorphic, 35mm f1.8, APS-C, and 75mm f1.8. $750 combined. I love them. So, for around $1,200 I got all these lenses. They're all manual. I love working manually. I love choosing my aperture and going through the focal length and deciding how I want a frame to look and deciding where in the frame I want to focus in and draw your attention to. I love messing with my lights. Look at these lights that I have. This thing right here, I control it on my phone. I can control the level and the temperature, the color temperature. I bought it for, I think, $35. I don't even remember the name brand, but it's in my description. I have a RGB, I have a stick light over there in the corner. I have an RGB light over here, a Ulanzi, which is literally this big. My key light is the size of a credit card. It's a Neewer RGB light. It cost me like $49, I think. It's got, all the colors from, all the way up to, I think, 6,500 Kelvin, 2,700, It's got all kinds of effects and things like that. And I have the exact same light behind me, separating me from the background. You could buy all these lights for $150, $200 combined, including the stands. But see, I love the process, Like, once I bought these lights, I just got as many lights as I needed and what I could afford. And it's really just for YouTube, because for my narrative work, I usually use natural light, And I could easily get the look that I want with these lights, because I've learned how to do that. I don't need big, gigantic, I don't need all that, But I'm grateful. What I'm saying is I don't need to sit around and watch YouTube videos all day, because I'm doing work. I'm doing real stories, which I'm saying, I hope. My hope is for everybody. My wish is for everybody to feel what I feel, to feel so compelled and so obsessed with a subject where you ain't even going to be thinking about looking at, camera reviews and stuff like that. Because it's not going to serve you, Now, yeah, if something, God forbid, happens to my S5 and my GH5 and I need a new camera, of course, I'm going to go watch every review until I find what I think is good for me and what I can afford. And then I'm going to buy it, and then I'm not going to watch another one until I need another camera. What I am going to watch is, I'm interested in listening to, like, Martin Scorsese talking about his films, talking about the artistic journey, the spiritual nature of how he chooses aperture and focal length and things like that, how he frames something, his composition, how he works with actors. That's something, why he chooses the films that he chooses, why he chooses the stories that he chooses, how he develops characters. That's interesting to me, because that's the human side of the work. The tech, like, I could care less how many elements are in this lens. I don't care. I just know that it looks good. That's all I care about. I mean, I'm interested in studying how to get the most out of DaVinci Resolve, how to get the most out of this camera, how to make sure that everything that I see in my mind's eye, I can reproduce with this camera, like mastering the tool that I have. That's what I'm interested in. I'm not interested in having something that prepares me for any possible scenario, because I'm not shooting sports, I'm not shooting wildlife, I'm not doing real estate, I'm not doing weddings. Like, I don't care about all that, you know? Like, if you're somebody who does all of that all the time and you need to be ready for anything every day, every minute of every day, then okay, good luck with that. Try to find that camera, you know? But more realistically, if you have an interest in some specific genre of shooting, find something that covers that. Get yourself a 24-70 zoom lens, you know, that covers everything basically. Get yourself a camera that's got, you know, a good enough dynamic range. If you feel the need to have autofocus, get a Sony or a Canon, you know, get great autofocus. But if not, choose a Lumix or choose a Fujifilm or whatever. Choose something that you can afford, because trust me, Fuji, Nikon, Canon, you know, Sony, Lumix, like all of them, Olympus, Micro Four Thirds, APS-C, full frame, you can make a movie that'll wind up on HBO with anything, basically. Anything. It's all about you, you know? And ironically, what I'm talking about is to write stories that ain't all about you, that contribute to the community. And so that's what I'm saying. Find something that's important to you, whether it be a documentary or a narrative or whatever, you know, and just let yourself get in there. You know, commit yourself to it. Like, really, really sacrifice to get in there. And trust me, you will love the process. It's like enjoyable. You know, it'll practically kill you, because you'll find yourself being willing to do anything to accomplish this goal of telling the story in the best way possible so that people respond to it, because that's what you want. And then if you're a playwright, you're going to wind up in a sacred performance space with people from all over the world, you know, people who believe in all kinds of different things, who look all kinds of different ways, who love in all kinds of different ways, who pray in all kinds of different ways. And you're going to be bringing people together. Same thing when you make a film. All kinds of different people are going to receive your work. And the beautiful thing is you could put it out on YouTube or Vimeo or anything you want, you know, and then you can tell everybody about it, and, you know, you're bringing people together. You're inspiring dialogue. That is a great contribution. That is a life well lived. I mean, in my humble opinion, that's better than sitting around watching every camera video, every video about a gimbal or a drone or whatever. Like, and if you notice, YouTube is changing. Those videos used to be much more like relevant and much more out there every day. I don't really see that as much. I'm seeing more storytelling videos, you know, more interesting videos about the arc of a story, you know, the denouement, the exposition, like how a story moves and why somebody chose that story and what their intention is and what they hope the audience gets out of it and what they get out of it. And I'm telling you, if you approach it that way, you will win every single time. I guarantee it. So I'm going to end this video now. I just wanted to, I don't know, I just felt like I needed to share this, you know, so maybe this means nothing to some people. I have no idea, but it was on my mind and I wanted to share it, and so there you go. No B-roll, none of that. And I'm not going to tell you, oh, I just wanted to be intimate. You know, I was shooting a short film today. I've been up since 2:30 in the morning shooting. I'm working with an artist whose mission is to raise awareness to the fact that, I'm sorry, there are like bugs flying around in here with the lights, I guess. But this artist's mission is to raise awareness to the fact that we just buy shit and then dispose of it, and it winds up in the earth, on the planet, you know, plastic everywhere, you know, just garbage everywhere. And so what she does, she's a sculptor, is that she goes around, she picks up garbage and she creates these beautiful sculptures. And so we created a little story, and I'm making a short film. And so anyway, I just say all that to say I'm tired, you know, like I'm not going to tell you I'm doing this for a purpose to have a more intimate type of video and let's go this way on YouTube. Like, nah, I'm just feeling kind of lazy. But on the other hand, it's great practice working on my lights, working on my exposure, working, you know, I'm far away. I'm shooting at about 50 millimeters, so I had to manually focus myself from about 5 feet away, working on my lights, and, you know, like, it's fun. My audio, you know, I'm recording here on a lavalier mic. I'm also recording on the camera just to see which sounds better, because sometimes you want the ambience of the room and sometimes you don't. Like, what I'm saying is it's good practice. I love working with the camera. I love practicing all the time, you know? It's like when I was an athlete my whole life. I love working out. I love practice. I love working on my fundamentals. I love looking at film, you know? I love it. I love process. I love the journey. You know, I'm a cliche. It's all about the journey. I love that, you know? So making YouTube videos for me, even if it's just like this, it's fun, you know? I get to work with my video assist features. I get to look at the waveforms and the vector scope and everything, you know? I get to like really, really hone my skills all the time and speak about things that are important to me and upload it. That's pretty cool, you know? And if people like it, that's great. And if they don't, that's okay, you know? But I really do it for myself because it's contributing to how I feel about myself and how I feel about my life, and makes me feel like I'm being productive, you know? I'm not just like sitting around, again, watching other people's videos about why I should buy this camera when I know full well that 6 months from now, they're going to tell me to buy a different camera. And 6 months after that, they're going to tell me to buy a different camera after they told me that the other camera was like the greatest camera in the history of the world, you know? And, you know, of course, at the end of every video, they're like, of course, there's no perfect camera. Let me tell you about one thing that I don't like. And, you know, come on. Like, is that better than coming up with a documentary about a group of people who are on the spectrum or autistic and want to make an album, and so they have this goal and follow them and, you know, see all the obstacles that they have to deal with in their lives, and then they wind up with a finished product, an album that, you know, that gets out there and they perform it live? Like Mark Bone made a documentary about that. That is fucking awesome, yo. Much more awesome than watch, you know, look, I don't want to I'm not going to say anything disparaging about anybody. Camera reviews, lens reviews, they're all awesome. I have uber respect for everybody who does that. They're very talented, they're great filmmakers. But I'm just telling you, or I'm just asking, I guess, after a while, how much do you really have to learn about ISO, white balance, you know, composition, exposure, all that stuff? Like, you know it. You know what I mean? You know it. You know how to do it. You know the exposure triangle. You know, like, you know it. You just have to go do it. And the best way to do it is to have a subject, to have a story, to have something that's important to you and to do it. You know? I mean, I got my GH5 for $475. Every time I use it, I'm like, if I bought this camera first, I never would have felt the need to upgrade to anything. It is incredible. I could do anything with that camera. Micro Four Thirds, I didn't know, you know? And I have the S5 and I love this camera too. I think you get what I'm saying. I'm starting to kind of itchy. I'm like allergic to something in here. Anyway, I think I'm starting to repeat myself, so I'm going to end now. So I will be back when I get that little tidbit of information where I can finish and finally share a video with you and let you know something that's really important to me. And I'll probably cut and paste stuff from like 5 or 6 different videos that I made, which, yeah, I went to my parents' grave. I think I told you. I went to this beautiful place on the Hudson River. I had all this cool B-roll. I'll put it all together, but I gotta wait for this one little piece of information. But for now, I wanted to share this, that I feel like if you approach things in this kind of way that I've been talking about, that you will find yourself winning every single time, every single day of your life. Even during the struggle, even during the hard times, you'll learn resilience, you'll learn how to overcome obstacles, you will learn how to never quit. And you will be developing your skills and developing your strength. It's like good nutrition. I'm telling you, give it a shot. Can't lose. Win, win, win every single day. Thanks for watching. You know, take this as an opportunity, but also, in my opinion, and the way I look at it in my life, I would say, and again, not to be pejorative, just my opinion, take it as your responsibility.